Smithfield Town Planning Board meeting for Thursday, June 26th, call to order at 7:04. First on the agenda is our roll call.
Here.
Dr. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Ford.
Here.
Mr. Millard.
Here.
Chair is here. Ms. Ramos and Ms. Jones here. Next on the agenda, please review the minutes from the May 22nd meeting. Give your treatments for that. Let us know about any comments or questions you have, corrections.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of typos.
Okay.
There's no T after my first name, and it's located in 2 locations.
Where is that? Did I see it in the members' pattern?
Yeah,
Yes.
there should be a T after his first name, at the end of his first name.
Oh, yeah, the extra T, got it.
It's
Okay. Yeah, in both places.
With that correction, I'll move that the minutes be accepted.
Okay. Take a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed, the minutes are accepted as correct. Does anyone on the board have anything to disclose? Is there any potential conflicts on the matter before the board this evening? Hearing none. Then the planning board members need to disclose any ex parte communication about any contested or material adjudicatory facts or opinions concerning the merits of any application before the board this evening.
The only thing that I'll just disclose is I received a text message from Christian D. Resendez with the letter that he has since provided to the planning department that has since been provided to the rest of us. I requested that rather than him texting me to send everything he needed to go through Mark and Bobby.
And as a matter of course, I made copies and provided that to the applicant's representatives also, so they have the same.
And Mark's going to read it into the
And
record.
I will read it into the record
Yep.
during public comment.
Okay, great. So voting members, well, what you see is what you get. Our full members, Dr. Benoit, Dr. Roberts, Mr. Miller, Mr. Millard, and myself. And with that, we'll get underway with public hearing and unified development review, material sampling technologies, 0 Central Street. Give us a recap.
Mr. Chairman, this is a project that has been around for a couple of years now, before the planning board. I don't remember, even 2 years ago, I believe, received a master plan approval with multiple stipulations and was forwarded to the zoning board. There was some issues with the zoning board and the Superior Court. The Superior Court found that certain elements of the town zoning code were unenforceable and basically reversed the zoning board decision. Is here before the planning board tonight for preliminary approval, and they're under a unified development because they are requesting a variance to have a security fence along the side of the front of the block.
I have a question, unified. Unified came out as a result of the changes in the legislature.
Correct.
This project started prior to that. I believe that's why we had a master plan, because
Correct.
technically there isn't one now.
Correct. So under the unified, because if you come in at master plan, you're authorized to request unified at master plan if it's in nature, there's a master plan. And under the new statute, if you come in at preliminary or something changes between master plan and preliminary, the applicant is authorized to amend their application to include a unified plan.
Okay. Great, thank you. Okay, so is there anything else to summarize from the master plan?
Well, there were multiple stipulations. The applicants will be here and they will be addressing those stipulations and planning staff's opinion that they've been addressed adequately at this point. And we would recommend approval, and if you have our recommendation in front of you. As far as the unified plan review, the first act of the planning board would be to hear the various requests for the fence, act on that, and then act on the master plan following the dimensional variance.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Casella?
The
Thank you, Mr. Carullo. Hello, Chair, members of the board. My name is Julie Sars, and I'm counsel on behalf of the applicant here today. And thank you for the amazing summary. As previously stated, we're here for preliminary plan review. It is under DDR because of the security defense relief that we need in order to have it provided in the front and the rear yard. So essentially, all that's before you today is relief from the design standard. So with this project, we already have the master plan approval, and the remaining conditions there have been resolved with the plan that's before you today. And so that will be discussed and shown throughout the presentation with our expert here. And without jumping too ahead of the agenda here, with the master plan approval, it is set to expire this month. We have previously requested for an extension, our second by right extension. In the event of anything goes south and for our preliminary plan approval here today, we will be asking for that extension before you. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Council.
This is a matter of course. That request for the extension is included on the agenda, and it is noted only to be acted upon if preliminary approval is not granted.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Just for the record, my name is Joe Caselli. I'm a registered professional engineer. Offices at 300 Post Road in Warwick. With me as well as Craig Abbott. Craig is the operations manager. Did I give you for the plant in case there are any operational issues or some specifics in terms of some of the questions? But if I may, Mr. Chairman, I have a quick PowerPoint presentation. I know that you've all seen this before. It's been a couple years ago. Material sampling technologies, Central Street, specifically Assessors Plot 1, Lot 461. In terms of the community, right up on the Mass line, 146, 146A, 102 Mechanic Street, Route 5, and then that's the subject piece, again, Assessors Plot 1, Lot 461. It's a big piece, 9.7 acres entirely in the mixed-use MU2 zone. Looking at it from an aerial, entirely wooded, when we had the biologist flag freshwater wetlands, that was Scott Rabideau, Natural Resource Services, back in 2020. You can see a swamp greater than 3 acres, has with it a 50-foot perimeter wetland, a couple of small forested wetlands less than 3 acres, so there's no DEM buffer with that. Special aquatic site, again less than 3 acres, no DEM buffer there. An intermittent stream less than 10 feet wide that has the 100-foot riverbank wetland. So that's a whole bunch of different biological encumbrances for this little lot. So you see, even though it's close to 10 acres, how little we have in places to work with. That's the 50-foot yard setback, front, side, and rear in the MU2 zone. And that's the proposal. Single-story building, 23,700 square feet, approximately 230 feet long at its longest point, and about 120 feet wide at its widest point. You can see the exterior elevations from Dan Peliquin Architects. I know you're all familiar with Dan. He's been around for quite some time, especially here in northern Rhode Island. What I wanted to point out, Mr. Chairman, is on the exterior from the street per section 12.11 of New York design standards, we're required to put some type of architectural blocking, and that's what we have shown here on both the south and the east elevation. So those are the faces that'll be most close to the street.
To the south elevation, to the left of where you have the architectural blocking?
Yeah.
What is that?
That is just the south of the building, so you'll be seeing that south elevation with the blocking is here, and then the rest of that is what you'll see right down in there. So that blocking is going to go specifically along this L-face shape, say on the northern and the easternmost portion of the building. So further looking at this, one of the elements we really wanted to accomplish next door is the driveway access to the adjacent piece, so we can have our employees be able to move inward about the facilities, not any type of inter-client movement there. So that access driveway is just pedestrian access. It's primarily from our employees from our existing building today to the proposed warehouse to the south. 3 loading docks, as we showed you in master plan, and a loading ramp for the forklift. In terms of parking, 4 are required by your code. 12 are shown. We believe that programmatically that will fit us a little bit better. And then in a gazebo is again for employee use. Permeable pavement to the maximum extent practicable. We were able to carve in a couple of areas where we think that porous pavement will work and won't be inundated by traffic and still be viable for some drainage. One of the reasons we're here tonight as a unified is a 6-foot high chain link fence, and a variance is requested for that because portions of that fence is in our front and our side yard setbacks. So that is what thrust us and allowed us to be in a unified development here tonight. Automatic gate, sliding entrance gate, very similar to what exists on the current building today. Secure site, you've got to get key fobbed in. In terms of utilities, existing force main is right in Central Street, so we'll be able to, the restrooms in there for employees only with the 12 parking spaces, so it's very easy for a small force main to service that building. We also have gas right outside the door on Central Street, which will allow natural gas service. And then water. As you may know, part of this project is the extension of that water main from Mechanic Street so that we're able to service all of the surrounding areas. So we'll be bringing that water line westerly all the way to the intersection of Central Street and then north all the way almost to the Mass line. It's a total of 1,800 linear feet. It's our intention to have a hydrant at its terminus end and have domestic and fire protection for the existing building as well as the proposed building. And then there will be there will be taps and there will be service connections at the property line for everybody to tie in on either side. Drainage, a bunch of different appurtenances were used to reduce the amount of drainage and to increase the quality of the stormwater leaving the site. Water quality trenches, we've got lined and sub-drained bioretention filters because of the high water tables. Different trench drains and UICs are all implemented, ultimately leading to a DEM approval, which we filed a formal application to alter, and that came in, and I'll show you that in a minute. Landscaping, by the book, we're not asking for any thing in terms of relief. This is Diane Soul, a local landscape architect who we commissioned to do a landscape plan that would be by right and by code. And the same with the photometrics. This is Engineering Design Service, local North Smithfield group that put together a photometric plan for us, meeting the foot candles at all of the property lines. One of the elements I hope that you see here is that is the area of lighting. We have no lighting in the back or the rear of the building, none at all. So that is one of the elements we have agreed to it at master plan. So in terms of permitting, as Mark Carullo said, we were back in front of this board in 2022 for our pre-application and our master plan. Went before the zoning board for dimensional relief in December, in which we were denied. The Superior Court granted an appeal. A couple years later, in 2024, our application to alter freshwater wetlands came in that same week. with the renewal granted by right, so we're good through 2026 in terms of DEM world. DOT issued the physical alteration permit for anything we'll be doing with the water line in terms of any improvements on Central Street. We have approval from the Water Commission to extend that water line. I believe that was also went through council as well as Sewer Commission later that month. Ultimately, fire signed off, and as your planner said, we're here tonight for the preliminary plan approval, but also for a variance to put that security fence, portions of it in the front and side yards. And ultimately, we would request the final plan with the administrative office. Craig and I, Melissa, are all here to answer questions. I know it's been a long road on this project. We're anxious to commence. And we'll be happy to answer questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Casavi, is the security fence a typical chain link that would be normally seen in industrial areas?
Yeah, it is going to mimic what's out there today. It's a 6-foot high chain link fence. There are no privacy slats in it. We wanted to be able to see through. But yeah, nature of our business, just like the original site, we have to have the perimeter fence around the entire circumference.
Could you put that?
Yeah,
Right
of course.
center.
Drew, maybe you could, is the fence going to be behind the landscaping?
So, no, portions will and will not. So there is the security fence which came out in red.
Yeah.
So that will encompass all of our landscaping and everything within our site. That's really our limit of disturbance when we're done and done with construction. That's what the finished product will be. And you can see we'll only be working in about that 1 acre inside that red perimeter of the 9+ acres that's there.
So,
Is that clear, that red fence? Can you all see that?
and I guess just to piggyback onto that, so obviously, it goes right along Central Street, but on the south side of that, it takes a jog going towards the building, then goes around. So that's wooded, correct?
Yes.
You know where they wooded?
Yes.
Okay. So the only concern I would have visually is the segmental fence going along Central Street. That's what neighbors have, that's what the abutters, the people across the street have to look at. And I understand you also have to have a gate there, that has to be it. But for the fencing itself, maybe to Mr. Bruno's point, whether it's vegetation or something, evergreen vegetation or something.
Yeah, so I don't have an overlay. I know landscape plan, if L1 is in your package, I'm not sure that it is. That portion of the fence along the, yes, that fence is behind all of the screening. So if I can just go to the landscape plan, Mr. Chairman, you'll see that
See that there?
right there, that fence will, and that will be blocked, maximum extent practicable. We still do have open areas. We're trying to block this from the neighbor's site. We're trying to block as much as we can, even for the rear neighbors and freshwater wetlands and anyone we disturb. So, you won't see the fence in this corner. You will see it even though it'll be wooded down here. But anything along Central Street, with exception to the opening, we're trying to block and down in there. So we felt as though the privacy slats would bring more attention to it. Trying to, like a screen in a window. Sometimes if you don't focus on it, you don't realize there's a screen in front of you.
The jog that goes from Central Street towards the building, that jog, that length of front fence.
Yes.
Yeah. How long is that? What's that distance?
I would say approximately,
What I'm getting is just how much will the natural wooded area, provide in terms of screening, especially since I think it's mostly deciduous trees.
yeah, so that total length there is about 60 feet. that'll block, and we anticipate that all of this will remain back in that wooded state, as you can see it overlay on that area. You know, some of that will be cut temporarily within our limit of disturbance, even though we don't have a temporary LOD on our DEM plan, only a permanent LOD. We know that some of that will be cut and then allowed to regrow back.
Mr. Casali, you mentioned there's no lighting on the back. What kind of security does that provide with no lighting? Do you have security cameras that will protect your interest?
We'll have
Yeah.
cameras.
Go ahead, Greg, why don't you
Yeah,
speak to that?
we would definitely have cameras
Yeah,
on.
that will work in the dark?
Yeah.
The only light we're required to have by code, Dr. Benoit, is there's an opening, a man door that's due west or right in the back of that westernmost face. We do have to have a small wall pack there. But in terms of the photometrics, we understand that the residential areas are to our west and to our south, which is why we try to tighten that fence as much as we could. If it wasn't for the drainage appurtenances, we could have gotten that fence even tighter, but that's what we're holding in there. So yeah, no lighting, existing regrowth, stay away from those wetlands, and there's not even gates on that side for us to get outside of that fence.
Can you show with the pointer approximately where the man door is?
Yeah, it's almost dead center in the middle of the building, right there.
Can that light be operated by a occupancy sensor rather than a on by dusk to dawn?
Absolutely.
So only if, I understand you have to have the door for egress
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
event of emergency, and it would activate once somebody exited,
That's reasonable.
just so that when certain times of the year when there's no, that growth dies back,